y'all, this is Nurse Jay at Nursing the Truth, and I hope everyone's having a great day today. At least it's a little more warm than usual here in the South, so I'm kind of glad for that. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started. And first of all, I'd like to say that I did get a couple of comments yesterday on my Jesus did not die or resurrect or ascended to heaven. I had one comment saying that I was not a good teacher, and the other one, they stated that I was going to go to hell if I didn't repent and turn from my ways, and that I was going to burn into a lake of fire. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen. I do appreciate the comments, positive or negative, but I kind of wanted to tell my viewers out there that that's simply not the case. As I will show you today, we're going to be talking about the Daniel prophecy in the Old Testament is a flat out lie. And the reason why I say that is because the prophecy of Daniel was not written until 164, okay, BC. But we're told that it was written when they were in the exile in Babylonia. That's simply not the case. And I will explain. So there's a book by Gary Greenberg called 101 Myths of the Bible. Okay? And it backs it up. You can also go on Wikipedia and type in when Daniel was written, and you'll see the lies there too. Daniel 1:17 states, "As for these 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams." The reality is, the predictions attributed to Daniel were written after the occurrence of the events described. So what you have here is when the compilation of the Old Testament was being put together, these scribes, like I said before, you had to have things already passed to make your story, and you can kind of put in what you want to make your story more plausible, you see. Now, the book of Daniel can be divided into 2 stories, or 2 categories of a story. The one tells of how the Jews during the Babylonian captivity can, through faith in God, rise to positions of higher power in foreign countries. And the other describes and interprets a series of dreams and visions about strange creatures and unusual events. In the first category, what we have are the stories of Daniel in the lion's den and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace. In each of these stories, the central characters deified certain directives of King Nebuchadnezzar that would interfere with their worship of God. As punishment, they were to be put to death. In each case, however, an angel of God came to protect them in the fire. When they emerged unscathed from their ordeal, the king elevated them to positions of high authority in the kingdom. Daniel, the central character, had been blessed by the Almighty with the gift of dream interpretation, and enabled him to predict events in the future. He had been brought to Babylon about 587 BC when King Nebuchadnezzar conquered Judah and removed the Hebrews from Canaan. Daniel and 3 companions were singled out by the king's staff and educated in the royal academy. As with Joseph, Daniel's skill in dream interpretation led to positions of high authority in the kingdom. And then Daniel presents us with a series of unusual dreams and visions, which, when interpreted, reveal the political events of the future down to the final days. In one episode, for instance, King Nebuchadnezzar dreamed of an unusual and frightening creature. It had a head of gold, a beast of and arms of silver, and belly and thighs of brass, and legs of iron, and feet of iron and clay. And a stone was hurled at the creature's feet, and the entity broke into tiny pieces that were swept away by the wind. The stone that destroyed the statue became a mighty mountain that filled the earth. So Daniel explained the dream to Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar, he said, was the golden head, ruler of a glorious and powerful kingdom. But after his reign, an inferior kingdom would arise. And after that, the third kingdom of brass shall rule the entire world. A fourth kingdom would be as strong as iron, but would split into pieces. After this, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will last forever. So, as other dreams unfold, the future becomes clearer. They reflect a parade of historical events in which the Chaldean empire of Nebuchadnezzar is replaced by the Persians and the Medes, and then by the Greeks, from whom various branches split off. Historians studying the prophecy have traced an accurate line of political events ending during the reign of Antiochus Epiphanes from 175 BCE to 164 BCE. A Seleucid Greek who persecuted the Jews, his cruel tyranny led to the Maccabean uprising that liberated the Jews from the Greek rule. Now, this set of predictions is rather remarkable for a man living in 587 BC. But there is a major flaw in this story, guys. The book of Daniel describes the succession of several kings during the lifetime of Daniel, and the sequence is substantially inaccurate. See, this is when you have to know your history and read and learn and study and read the scriptures precept upon precept and line by line, what the good book says. Because remember, yesterday I gave you a disclaimer of 2 Timothy 3:16, that it's profitable for doctrine and reproof it. Daniel gives the following succession of Babylonian kings: Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar, son of Nebuchadnezzar, Darius the Mede, Cyrus. Elsewhere, it says that Darius the Mede was the son of Ahasuerus, which is Xerxes. Now, that's what Daniel says. But the historical accuracies of the sequential order would be Nebuchadnezzar, Merodach, Neriglissar, Nabonidus, Belshazzar, son of Nabonidus, and Cyrus. Sorry, little scribes, you didn't do a very good job at lying to the people in your holy scriptures. But you see, the thing about it is when people write in stone or they chisel something and it's so damn hard, like the limestone in quartz, you can't chisel the shit out. Oh, your story is full of shit. Belshazzar was not the son of Nebuchadnezzar, but of the later king named Nabonidus. And that was also proven in the stone tablets as well. And several of the predictions that Daniel made about Nebuchadnezzar actually refer to the events of the life of Nabonidus. So it would appear that somehow Daniel, the wise interpreter of dreams, confused Nebuchadnezzar with Nabonidus, who was actually the third king after Nebuchadnezzar according to the historical records. History knows nothing of Darius the Mede. That's another lie. See, you're inserting people into your holy scriptures and that the scriptures are the inspired words of God. That's bullshit. Men make this shit up. Men insert words. Men make up lies. Do your research, because I've researched this. Because even though I read every book that I'm presenting, I do go and do my homework and research after these authors to make sure, and I did exactly what this is. And I'm telling you, so history knows nothing of Darius the Mede. The Babylonian kings known as Darius were Persians, and they followed after Cyrus, the Persian king who defeated Nabonidus. The actual Darius was the father of Xerxes, not the son. So Daniel appears to be the prophet who has a better grasp on the future than the present, which leads to the obvious conclusion, guys, that the predictions were written after the fact when the later events were well known, but the earlier history was a bit fuzzy. As Antiochus Epiphanes is the last of the kings in Daniel's predictions, we can safely say that the author of Daniel's predictions wrote about 164 BC. In support of this date of authorship, we should note that the writer concludes his political history with a prediction that the king identified with Antiochus will die in battle somewhere between Jerusalem and the Mediterranean. And that is in your book, Daniel 11, verse 40 through 45. But, in fact, Antiochus died far to the east in Persia, suggesting that the author was aware of Antiochus, but had not learned of his death at the time he was describing Daniel's predictions. So, you see, folks, what you have is not really the truth. And when you start doing your homework about historical facts to what you have, then you'll know the truth. And it just kind of tickles me some that on the comments that I received yesterday, I'm not going to comment back, but letting people know on my channel that I'm not spouting a bunch of bull crap, that I'm coming to you with scholarly, historical, sound, rational information. And I understand that there are people that cannot understand what I'm trying to bring forth to them. They still have the veil. They don't want to give an objective view of things, because over the last 2,000 years, we have been screwed. And they are continuing to do this. But I'm no longer in it. And I'm glad that I'm not. And I'm trying to, my other two children are out of it, thankfully. They're not going to raise their kids into this, and I'm glad for that. Now, other family members that I have, they are having a hard time, but eventually I believe the universe will bring them out of this, eventually. So there again, guys, when you search for the truth and you find the truth, let the truth set you free. And me and Thal say, Hotep and Ashe.